सर फिटिंग्स की आपको पता है कि एक तो जो क्वालिटी ऑफ फिटिंग्स है ना उनकी ओरिएंटेशन और डायरेक्शन रहता है, क्योंकि फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने 200 kg सिलेंडर या FLT 450 का सिलेंडर है तो इसके ऊपर कोई 5 फिटिंग्स लगती है, ठीक है ना। आपका सर्विस वैल्व है, आपकी PRV है, आपका फिलर वैल्व है, ठीक है, आपकी गेज है। तो जब ये फिटिंग्स लगती हैं तो इनकी फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपकी जो डबल चेक फिलर वैल्व है या आपकी रिव्यू है या आपकी जो है ना इसकी फ्लूट है, इसकी गेज, तो वो बाजू तक ऑपरेशन के दरमियान एक दूसरे के साथ स्टक कर दैट सेज कि उन्होंने जो फिटिंग की डिज़ाइन है वो उतना अच्छा नहीं किया। आपको पता है कि उसके ऊपर किसी भी फिटिंग के ऊपर ये इनकी फिटिंग के ऊपर एक कट लगा होता है उसकी डायरेक्शन बताने के लिए, ठीक है ना। तो हमें इस तरह के बहुत इशूज़ कि फर्स्ट फिल में पहली दफ़े जब आपके फिल हो रहे हैं सिलेंडर तो उसी दौरान ही आपकी गेज स्टक है, तो अब आपने चार्ज टैंक को गेज स्टक इस तरह रिजॉल्व करेंगे जब तक वो आप सारा इवैक्यूएट ना करें, तो दिस क्रिएट्स अ लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज, क्योंकि हमारे लिए उसको डिफेंड करना पूरा एक अरेंजमेंट बन जाता है, तो वो फिर हमें बड़े मसले इस तरह के होते हैं। अदर देन दैट कुछ और इश्यूज हैं उनके साथ इंटेग्रिटी के हवाले से। थर्ड पार्टी की रिपोर्ट्स जो है वो मुझे हमने इनको 100% RT जो है ना वो रेडियोग्राफी की आपका की, उसकी वजह ये कि हमें लीकेजेस के 2 दफ़ा मुझे मसले आए पिछले 2 साल में, क्योंकि आपके अगर हाइड्रो टेस्ट हुआ हो और चलो हाइड्रो टेस्ट का लॉट में से सही तो करते, लेकिन अगर 100% हमने वो कर दिया था उसके बाद भी अगर लीकेज आ गई है तो देयर वाज सम फ्लॉ इन टेस्ट। सो हमें ये मसला कभी फ्रैंक हमें US या यूरोपियन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के साथ नहीं आया था, लेकिन SHV जब बात हमने क्वायर की तो हमें अब पब्लिक प्रोक्योरमेंट में और फिर उसमें लोएस्ट कॉस्ट बेस पे जाना पड़ता है उस वजह से। लेकिन बट वी आर इन जो है ना वो प्रोसेस टू फाइंड आउट वेज कि किस तरह से इंडिजिनाइज करने लोकल इंडस्ट्री को ये काम किए बाहर से लेना।
Okay. One thing I like to bring up. Always remember, Marshal, you will see all those brass material. Okay. In the market, there is such a thing called recycled brass. What the definition of recycled brass is? They use brass, they recycle it, and they go to build with equipment. Marshal do not use recycled brass for their fitting. They use proper brass that is manufactured from the mill and they use it. So you be very careful. If someone offers you a brass fitting or equipment and they are very cheap, you have to ask yourself whether the brass is a recycled brass. And recycled brass are very, very weak and they might break anytime. So just to share with the audience here, just to make sure we are comparing the fair competition. I have met customers telling me that some fittings are very cheap. I say yes, they are very cheap, especially if they do come from China. So some of those brass are recycled brass. So you have to be very careful. There's nothing wrong with recycled brass until the problem comes. Okay? So I do not want to comment what product will you recycle. You will meet them, but I'm not sure. It's up to your own due diligence to study what you're buying. Okay, this slide. Okay, this is the slide that shows they're using for cylinder. Okay, these are some of the cylinder bars. Okay, withdrawal. Okay, this slide. These are some smaller cylinders that I believe in Pakistan you're still using. So these are some common valve, and you can even put a flow gauge in the biggest thing. Okay, this is we call it the cluster manifold. Okay, so it's only one manifold that you can have a few things on the manifold. You can have the double check fuel valve, you have the service shut-off valve, you have the plug test port, vapor withdrawal. We also have the so-called the junior head gauge, where you measure the so-called flow of the flow gauge for the tank. Okay, with lead valve and liquid bag. So this is one manifold that have every, so the design is simplified, especially if you have a tank that's below ground. You have it below ground. So I'm not sure whether in Pakistan you have tank that's below ground, but you will have, this will be a good fitting that you want to have. Easy to install and easy to inspect. Yes, sir?
हमारे कुछ माउंटेन टैंक्स हैं जो वहाँ पे यूज करते हैं, लेकिन हमारा प्राइमरीली जो आपने पहले कहा इससे दूसरी स्लाइड्स में वो हमारे पास रेगुलर
These are some of the fittings, these are regulators. Okay, Marshal also actually we manufactured regulators, and the difference between our regulator, okay, in the market, the most famous regulator in the world is Fisher. Okay, Fisher is very powerful on regulator. But yet again, when it comes to LPG, Marshal realized that what the customer needs for the regulator that Fisher is not even aware of. You look at the step there, you see, normally a customer when they install the regulator, they want to make sure the tag number, and then they stick this part that they can tear off and put onto the report for record. So they know that this regulator was for which report, and they can trace it without writing. Because sometimes when you write, you might write the part number or the serial number wrongly. So this is some simple innovation requested by customer. We came out with this and we patented this design. So this is a form of innovation, small innovation. Next slide. Okay. Having said that, when we design our regulator, Marshal, we actually test it in real condition, real application with LPG going into it, and actually, especially in Marshal, during the October onward, it's almost winter, snowing and icy. So they actually leave all the regulator, not only Marshal, we also have our competitor regulator outside, and we do tests. Okay, so we test it for a cycle test of 30-year cycle with no lockup, with leak and leak failure. So these are the things that we test to make sure that the design of our regulator meets the UL requirement that doesn't fail. Okay, and that's very important. So these are the tests that we do. Something like 500, half a million cycle for 30% or 30% true. So these are the things that we do. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Yeah, just to show you, this is what happened to those test regulators. They are not tests in the lab, they test in the real environment. And Michigan is a place that you do not want to visit during December. Trust me. This slide. Okay, this is a first stage regulator that we have. Okay, we painted in red. This is required by the UL requirement. It's red. Second slide. This is a second stage regulator in green. Okay, let me explain why they call first stage and second stage. In regulator design, you are drawing LPG out from your tank. And normally the tank pressure out is very high. You need to step down to 10 psi. So what happens is that if you are using one regulator to step down to 10 psi and even to lower, to a lower pressure for domestic use or commercial use, the first regulator, when they step down the pressure, it doesn't perform a stable set pressure, and that will create equipment problem. So the second stage regulator is to receive the first regulator step down to 10 psi, and the second stage will regulate the pressure that required on the downstream. So in any design, always have two regulators. The first stage is to step down the high pressure. The second stage is to regulate the pressure required by the downstream. And this is always a good design. Next slide. So sometimes customers say, no, I don't have space. And because the space limitation in my plumbing system don't allow me to have first stage and second stage. Then we come to have the twin stage. It means the first stage and second stage is built in the regulator. Okay, next slide. This slide.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me that in the second stage regulator, how much pressure it can drop?
It can drop to maybe 10, 20 quarter-inch column. It depends on the regulator is selected. If you look at the catalog in the front page, I cannot remember all of them, but the second page will bring down to a lower pressure. And normally these pressures are suitable for commercial or even domestic application. Yeah. So this is they call it the 2 psi series, where they bring down the pressure to only 2 psi. So it's standard. So it's not popular in outside of US, but in US this is popular. Next slide. So if you look at the regulator, to a lot of people who think that a regulator is just like a tap, you open the tap, the water flow up. No, a regulator is not a tap. A regulator, normally when we do a selection for regulator, there are a few things that we always look at. First of all, we want to know what is the maximum and minimum pressure that is flowing into the regulator. The reason why we want to know the two pressure is maximum in a way that we want to make sure the regulator that is selected can stand the maximum pressure. If not, the regulator will go up. Why we need to know the minimum pressure coming into the regulator? We know because in the tank the pressure will drop. When the pressure drops to a low level, we want to make sure that this regulator, when they deliver the LPG from the outlet, it must deliver the flow and the pressure required. So normally we use the minimum pressure, inlet pressure, to calculate the outlet pressure and the outlet flow. So that regulator will meet the requirement of the customer. So this is something that I just want to share with you. If you ever have a regulator inquiry, I will ask very detailed. I will ask whether this regulator is the first stage or second stage. And then if it's the second stage, this regulator is going to deliver the gas to how many equipment. And then after that, I will ask you, after this equipment, do you plan to expand in the future, whether you need to have other equipment? If it is, then you need to change your regulator. Because when I select the regulator, it's only meant for the few equipment you have now. Maybe 5 years down the line, you want to have another few more equipment, then this regulator will not perform because it is so-called undersized. Okay? So basically, these regulators are designed with a few features. Okay? Basically, we make sure that it actually have the regulator is powder coated so that it will not rust. And powder coated is more durable. Then we have the vent to prevent dirt getting in. All the lever inside are all stainless steel. Okay? So basically, we actually take into the consideration. I do not want to bring those questions to bore you. There are 16 features in this, and you can see that in the catalog. We are trying to explain to you what are the features that's built into the regulator. So this regulator is not just a tap of open and close. It is to regulate a high pressure gas to a low pressure gas so that you can use it safely. Okay? And that has to be complied with the UL and FFPA requirement in the US. Okay, next slide. So these are some changes that we made, especially in some regulator in country. I'm not sure, I think Pakistan will never get so cold like in Michigan. In cold country, we designed so that we have an anti-freeze so that the regulator will not freeze up to not able to deliver the gas. So these are some modifications that we make to the regulator based on actual and environment condition and feedback from customers. Next slide. Okay, do I come to the end? Another slide.
Yes, yes.
I think that's the end.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the end of the presentation, is it?
Yes, yes. I haven't found
Okay. I'm not sure whether you have any question. I'm available for any question within my knowledge. I will share with you. But First of all, I'd like to thank all of you present in this meeting organized by EIS Rahil. And I took pleasure, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I'm not in Pakistan. I love to go to Pakistan, but unfortunately, in Singapore, our government locked us down until end of the year. Whether this year I can travel or not, I do not know. But this is the situation. But fortunately, technology, okay? You see, we have a problem in traveling, but technology allows me to be with you through Skype, and this makes life easy for everybody. So I hope today we learn from each other the changes that we want to make our life much better. I thank you for your presence. I thank you, Rahil, for making this meeting possible. I hope in future, if you have any questions, please go to Rahil and then he can discuss with me the problem that you're facing. Let us change LPG business to a more safe and a good product to be used in growing Pakistan economy. I thank you for your presence. If you have any question, I'm still around to answer your question.
We will email you.
Yeah, the question we have right, we will email you. Every person will
Okay.
the question and then you will reply on that.
Okay, I appreciate that. So you want me to stay online or I can be free from this meeting?
Yeah, now you can have a break. No problem.
You can join us on
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a nice
Okay, okay, thank
Okay,
you.
you have to say something?
Okay. Sorry?
You have to say something?